Inevitably, each and every conversation, wherever you start with artificial intelligence, or you start with disruption, or you start with innovation, or you start with a strategy challenge. Inevitably, that conversation somehow, somewhere, pretty fast leads to how do we actually avoid burnout. We are also overwhelmed. We are under such enormous pressure. It's not just on the leadership, but on the teams and the companies and corporations. How do we sustain that pressure? So, and that's kind of the academy. What we are trying to do. Yes, on one side there's the Silicon Valley Innovation Playbook that we're helping leaders to tap into that playbook. What it is that high tech companies do that make them successful and help them compete in innovation sustainably over and over again, come up with these new ideas. But we'll also want to recognize that all of this is really done by people, right? At the end of the day, there's a human that implements these changes or is the subject of those changes and needs to adapt those changes and learn and push through, right? So how do we actually pair that with that burnout-proof leadership strategies so that people can sustain that change, and not just sustain, but flourish through this, and not just in their corporate life, but as an individual.
Yeah, yeah. What were you seeing when you kind of initially established the academy? You said, okay, I need to set something up because I'm not alone in this. There's so many people who are experiencing it. And what if we set the academy? When you first set it up, what were some of the assumptions you made, and what were some of the things you discovered and said, "Oh, these were these were really assumptions, but that's not true. But this is what is the real challenge." Was it any of that, or what
Well,
happened?
I'm
Just
still discovering this every day, right? So there's a continuous, it's an evolution. Everything is a process, right? So especially, I'm sure you know this from your practice as well, right? So you're continuously monitoring what it is that your potential customers and your real customers are looking for, that feedback loop, how we respond to that. Yes, that's true. We're adapting, toward those requests and those responses at the end. At the same time, I still, that's kind of, um, I guess a lot of my energy really goes into this. I want to hold on to that North Star, right? So at the end of the day, this is really about people, about our human qualities. Leadership is not a leadership in the vacuum, right? So leadership really starts with self-leadership. So you become that role model. And from that role model, that's how the changes are trickling down. When you don't really wait for others to give you responsibility, or you don't really wait for permission to implement the changes, but you start with yourself. If you're burned out, if you're not happy, the chances are that your team is feeling the same. So if you switch, if you turn your cruise ship the way you want it to be, your
yeah.
team will go along with you.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things which, you know, is sticking with me, and you've mentioned it in a few different ways, is that when the same pattern started to happen, I had to look at myself. This is happening. The same thing you're talking about the leaders, when they are, what they are projecting is what the team is projecting back to them. And I think that's huge. One is recognition of the patterns itself, but then how do we go to the next level? And I see that the leaders get stuck in that in between, right? They might have a little bit of, this happened again. Oh, I have to move. This, I burnt out here too. Oh, I have to move to a different job. And I burn out here too. And they kind of recognize that there is a pattern, but they're not able to get out of it. They're stuck in that messy middle. Um, I would love to kind of double click on that with you and say,
Mhm.
well, how do you help leaders to come on the other side? How do you help them recognize that, the power is within them? This is how they do it. What's your methodology there?
Yes, as recognition, I really like the word that you used here is recognition, right? So that's the acknowledgement of your own power to change the situation, I think, is what's important. So the acknowledgement that yes, there are a lot of things that we cannot control. When we're talking about disruption. So today it's artificial intelligence. Tomorrow it's going to be quantum computing. A few years ago, it was mobile technology. It could be, a storm somewhere in the world. So there's a weather pattern disruption. So there's so many disruptions that are going on. So understanding that this disruption is not going to go away. So there's a continuous evolution and evolution that's going on, especially in the technology world and everything that touches the technology one way or another. So that's part of it. A lot of it we cannot control. AI is going to do what AI is going to do. The technology is going to develop one way or another. We don't know what we don't know what we don't know. But the other part of it is that there is a lot of things that is inside our control. So that recognition, what's outside of my control and what's within my control, that's what's important. So when we talk about what's within my control, especially in the context of burnout, what I usually like to talk about is that what's within your control is how you react to the situation and how you spend how you establish your presence in the morning, in the moment. So one of the things that one of the exercises that we do that I eventually named the Microjoy Method it's a really big element of you gaining that energy back, you reclaiming your energy back, and you're claiming your uniqueness and your personality back, is intentionally bringing joy back into your life. So we call it the Microjoy Method. And the method is that you actually put a list of 20 things together, 20 activities on the list. The only reason for those activities to be on the list is that they make you happy. It's not because somebody wants something from you, not because it's healthy, not because you should do it, not because it's going to bring return on investment somehow, not because you promised to someone something. The only reason for this item to be on the list is to make you happy. And then you take three of those activities and you put it in your calendar and you do it every day. So three of those joys that you put in the calendar and you do them. And the reason we have micro in that is that it does not have to be something big. It can be something very small. It could be in the middle of the day, I go outside for 2 minutes and I just stand on the terrace and I feel the sun on my face. And in that moment, that's the present. This is what makes me happy. And the only reason for me to do that is so that it makes me happy. And that's how you give permission to reclaim your energy. And that's how you start defining the boundaries. What is a yes for me and what is a no for me? But the biggest part is really reclaiming that energy and replenishing that bucket that we're talking about, right? Replenishing your own a glass so that you are in the right state of mind to keep going. You pay respect to yourself, to your desires, to what you want, and then you keep going, fulfilling those responsibilities that you have.
I saw your energy shift so much when you talked about microjoy. You were joyful yourself. Sometimes even talking about a method like this would is a joy in itself. Like let's bring more joy. And I could
So